you doing, guys? Today we are continuing work on the front end of the Senior. As you can see, I have done all the rough body work on the essential pieces. Now, I am going to keep this tractor patinaed. I'm not going to paint it. So, you ask, why did I do this? These pieces in particular, as well as the front rims, if you recall, were in really bad shape, rough shape. The big lower tie bar, or the tie rod, I should say, that thing was literally bent in half. So I had to heat it up with the torch and get it straight. The pitting was pretty severe on these pieces. As you know, I had to cut those lower stems in order to straighten them because they were bent. The knuckles obviously were in pretty rough shape from pitting. So I just went ahead and did some rough body work on that. All the parts were sandblasted prior. My plan is to just, use a maroon primer on those pieces as well as the front rims in order to somewhat look the part of the patinaed tractor. Now, the reason why I've decided not to go ahead and repaint this and make it all super minty is because I won't use it. For whatever reason, when I do a full restore on a tractor and make it, as new, I tend to not ride them or use them. I tend to just launch them. So I don't want that. I want to kind of enjoy this one for a little bit. So today we're going to continue some work on it. I didn't take video of this because it's body work. You've seen me do it 100 times on the channel. A little bit of body filler, and then I just used the spot putty just to finish it all up. And as you can tell, it is pretty smooth. This should primer filler real nice, all these bits and pieces. I also went ahead and finally, after almost a year, I burnt the centers in on these rims. The welds came out pretty darn nice. I'm real happy with them. I mean, that one's a little chunky. Could have come out probably a little bit better. But if we recall, and I don't think I can pull it out, but the welds on these tractors in general of this vintage, when it comes to the wheel horse, they basically stick welded them. So they were snotty, splattery, and in some cases they weren't even welding two pieces of metal together. It was just a weld bead, which was crazy. But so although these things may not be picture perfect aircraft quality welding, that's perfectly acceptable. For example, let's pull, you know what, I just noticed, if we pull this guy out and we take a look at it, those are factory welds, and although they look nice maybe on the camera here, let's see if we can get this thing to focus, there's splatter. You can see the splatter everywhere. In some cases, look at that, that's all factory welds. So having picture perfect welds is not necessarily what we need, so we're not necessarily going to aim for that. Now that I have the rims welded together, we're going to go ahead and start welding, or doing the final welding on my spindles. I'm going to cover all this up so we keep the splatter to a minimum because we don't want anything on these surfaces. Get them hooked up, and my hope is to go ahead and make one weld like from here all the way to about the halfway mark, flip it over, do the same thing, and then just kind of go around. I basically have to weld everything. That's how the originals were, and that is the goal. All right, guys. Let me get this set up. We'll get to work. So with the welding done, I went ahead and cookie wheeled down the welds a little bit to get the slag off them, so that way they look a little bit nicer. Overall, I'm real happy with the way the welds came out on the spindles. I think with a little bit of sandblasting and a little bit of primer, the rusty looking primer, you're pretty much, I don't believe, gonna notice that those were replaced. The rims are all welded back in, so I'm real happy with that. The welding on both sides came out pretty good. I'm pretty Pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and scuff the rims down a little bit with a Scotch-Brite pad and start to do some body work on the spokes. So let me get going on that, and we'll have like a little bit of status update on that. And then theoretically, I'm ready to primer everything and start putting it back together. I know I'm a long ways from that, but it's always good to dream. So I was only able to put the body filler and spot putty in one of the rims. The other one still needs to be done. At least I got the spindles all welded and they're just about ready to go. I just want to go sandblast. Basically, I want to sandblast from this side of the washer to this side of the washer, this whole area on both of them. That way I can prime them and they'll look pretty much 100% original. The one thing I did do is I put some tape on the welds when I was doing the body filler and the spot putty, because, you know, back in the day, they didn't obviously put any body filler in these rims, number one. Number two, you know, they're snotty welds. They just left them. They just painted right over the snotty welds. So, you know, I kind of want to recreate that with my welds here on the outside of the rim. They didn't even hit the ends of the spokes either, and they didn't even come all the way over to the edge of the spoke, which is kind of funny. You can see how they just, you know, they just went crazy with the stick welder. And I kind of made mine, I made sure I went from edge to edge, but I also left mine open on the ends, so that way it mirrors the originals. And to a point, these rims, you know, you won't be able to tell that the hoops had been replaced. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this tape off. I'm going to let the spot putty dry overnight. I'm pretty much done. It's super humid, so I'm kind of burnt. Not literally, but, you know, mentally. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a short one. Not a whole lot of content within it, but, you know, making progress on the Senior. Thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe. As always, have a nice day.